Alright, hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to our Minecraft Cliffs and Caves, now with RTX. Alright, what happened during the week? Not much, except that I've been thinking about lights. Lighting in ray tracing. Let me talk about lighting and ray tracing. So I've been exploring lights. Built a box up here, alright? Behind the box with the other villagers. So let's think about lighting. First of all, this is wrong. Um, the skylight is clearly leaking in. And if we reset this, all of that disappears very quickly. Curious, isn't it? So the lighting is not entirely... It's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not entirely consistent. Hey, Harvard. So, alright, what did I learn during the week with my experiments? Point sources. We have torches are point light sources, and they're the same brightness for some reason. We have the yellow, the blue, the red. So this is not correct. Maybe the red one's a little dimmer actually. If you look at this, maybe this is a little bit dimmer than this. But if you understand Minecraft, you know that the soul torch is meant to be dimmer than the normal torch, and then the redstone torch is dimmer than the soul torch. So this is kind of not correct, right? However, the point light sources are very consistent. If we put them down, recalculate, 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 like it's all the same. It's always the same. So the point light sources work great. Right? First thing. What are we doing? Second thing, lit blocks. These are area light sources. I'm gonna actually put it on top of the torch so that it's floating in the air. The area light sources, unfortunately, are not consistent. You see how there's no light here? That's strange, right? If we, in fact, it seems like this side is a little bit darker than that side. Maybe it's just closer to the wall. But if I do it again, alright, reset. Oh, now that's interesting. Now there's light down here, but there's no light in this direction. That's weird. So we reset again. Now there's no light in this direction, but there is light in that direction. Look at that, very strange. So what's going on with the area light sources is that the rays, the ray tracing casts rays from the light source. The light rays are randomly distributed, is what's going on. And every time you reset the light, it casts the rays in different directions. This time, because of RNG, all the rays are cast downwards, and none of the rays are cast sideways or up. How is this? Gosh, makes me want to go out and buy a top tier RTX GPU. It's not the RTX, however. It's the software. So what I'm saying is that the area lights really it should not be randomly distributed. It should be uniformly distributed. Imagine if I don't know how many rays they cast. Let's say you have 20 light rays. What they should do is to just make a dodecahedron, like a regular polyhedron, and then just have the light rays like shine out in it evenly distributed. And that we say that because the glowstone block is basically a point light source, or they should just make it a point light source. Because it's basically a point light source. It doesn't really matter that it's the faces that are glowing, because the glowstone is supposed to glow the same way in every direction. And in fact, as we stand here, you can see it recalculating itself, and it's wrong every time. So there are a number of solutions to this. Either you cast more rays so that the randomness is less, like there's less bias in the randomness, or you changed it from a random distribution to an even distribution. But the reason they use random distribution in texture lights is because they designed this for games where texture lights are complicated and unpredictable, and also with complex geometry. If you imagine a different game, imagine, I don't know, Cyberpunk, imagine like something like you can't cast rays per polygon because some games have some models where there are like hundreds of thousands of polygons on a model. Well, maybe not quite that much, but like in high res games, you have a lot of polygons, and so casting a ray per polygon doesn't really make sense because that's too many rays. Um, it might not make sense to cast rays. Well, no, it makes the most sense to cast rays per texture, because the artist will make the texture depending on how detailed it's meant to be. So something up close will have a more detailed texture than something that's far away, and doing light rays per texture means that you work with the artist to have more detailed ray tracing up close and less detailed ray tracing far away. So in other games that makes sense. In Minecraft, doing random rays per texture doesn't make sense because for one, the textures are really low resolution, and two, the textures are the same size no matter how far away it is. So if this block was 1,000 blocks away, it'd be the same size and the same texture in like out in the distance. And so because like of the way Minecraft works, this doesn't make sense. What they really should do is just make this a point source, to be honest, because like a glowstone block is basically a point source. Like it doesn't make sense as an area source. I'm gonna do the same thing with the sea lantern. I believe the sea lantern does the same thing. Right, you can see it does the same thing. You see how there's no light rays there, but there's light rays going that way, and there's light rays kind of going that way, and it's mostly going up. So either not enough rays or the distribution of the rays are wrong. And you can fix this. If you change the math, you can kind of fix this. If you change the math so that you have the same number of light rays coming from each face, that would fix it. Because obviously here, there's no light coming down from the bottom face. So that's not obviously wrong. Yeah, so there's a number of ways to change the math to make this work. The problem is that they didn't do that. And so this is clearly wrong. What is this? Oh, the jack-o'-lantern. So the jack-o'-lantern is more like how you would expect to use glowing textures in other games. So the jack-o'-lantern, the texture wraps around the whole cube, right? But only like those areas, these areas of one of the faces are lit. And in fact, like even this, the lighting is not consistent. Right, if we like reset this. Right, this one, this time there's light rays coming out the front, but there's no light rays coming out the front of those other ones, right? So even this is not entirely accurate. They should make sure there are enough rays coming from the lit parts of the texture. Here, there's probably light rays coming from all directions, but because those parts are not lit, those light rays don't do anything. And it so happens that there are no light rays on this face, coming out from this face, and so there's nothing shining on the wall there. Whereas here, there so happens there are light rays coming out of that face. So the random distribution really doesn't... It's not good, man. It's not good. They did random distribution on the area light sources, and it's just not... That's not the right thing to do. I wonder if they'll ever come back and fix this. Oh, another point about this. Because the problem is not enough rays per block, one of the ways to mitigate this is to just put down more blocks. Because the more blocks you have, the more total light rays are coming out of that cluster of glowstone. And so the more likely it is that they'll kind of average out. But you can still see here that's still wrong. So it's not that reliable. You have to put down like a lot of these, and even then, yeah, no, never mind, never mind. Like, what's that? Right? Okay, and then like this is good. All right. So, well, I mean, this is kind of dark there. Anyway, theoretically, the more lights you use, the more light rays there are coming out of the cluster, and therefore the more likely it is that you get the correct calculation from it, but it's not reliable. The lantern? The lantern should be a point source. Because, like, in the game, it kind of is a point source. But what they did is they make this a texture light source as well. How is this dropping frames? Oh, I did drop a couple of frames. Dropped 20 frames there. That's the network, right? Should be back. Yeah, so the lantern is the same thing. The lantern, instead of putting a point light source inside the lantern is also an area light source on the glowing faces. And so not only is this inconsistent, because here you can see there's light rays going that way and going that way, but there are no light rays going that way until it just decides to recalculate itself. It's switched around and now there aren't any lights going that way. So the lanterns are inconsistent because it's a texture source. Not only that, but because the underside is not lit, it's very dark right underneath the lanterns. So lanterns are awful in RTX. End rods for some reason are way too dark. I don't know, I haven't quite figured out if end rods are point sources or area sources. I think they are point sources because of how consistent they are, right? Like if you recalculate and recalculate and recalculate, it's the same thing over and over. So the end rods are point sources, but for some inexplicable reason, they decided to make them a lot darker than the torches. Why would you do? I mean, because in the game, end rods are supposed to be as bright as torches, but for some reason they decided to make these really dim. So the only way to make end rods work is if you like really spam them all over the place. Right, like if you spam them, so this is fine. Like if you put like a lot of them. It's fine. So you can use end rods if you completely spam them throughout the space that you want to light. But otherwise, one end rod, way too dim, doesn't do anything. And then finally, a block of glowstone? Way too dim. I mean, they're supposed to be dim, but they're kind of way too dim. Well, maybe this is okay. I mean, you don't really use them as light sources anyway. Maybe that's fine. It is a self-illuminated texture, so they kind of glow in the dark a little bit. And finally, candles. What should we say about candles? Candles... Not you. Candles don't work. Candles just plain don't work. They're not a light point source, they're not an area source, they're not any source. They just don't work. They're just completely broken. Alright, there you go. Candles. Okay, so what's the conclusion from all this experimentation? The conclusion is that the only real viable practical light source are the torches. We can use glowstone and sea lanterns as decorative self-illuminated textures, right? They will always glow, and so in nighttime, in the distance, you always see them at full brightness, but you can't rely on these to provide light onto other things. You can't rely on these to provide light into a space because they're just not reliable because of the random distribution. The unevenness of them just don't work. You can even use soul torches and redstone torches as light sources to light up the space. Although because of how dim these things are, they won't suppress zombies and creepers and all that, so you have to be careful about those. Lanterns are no good. And end rods, you can spam a space with them and they'll look kind of nice, but you need a lot of them. And that basically is what we learned about lighting in Minecraft during the week in RTX. Okay, so with that, let me sleep real quick. I'm gonna go over to the museum, and I'm gonna relight the museum. Knowing that torches are the only thing that really works. Let's replace everything with torches, right? And I have started this already. However, I know you keep joking about RTX being bad, and it kind of is bad, but it's not the like underlying technology, it's the implementation. They could implement it better. And like even I can figure out how to implement it better. It's just that they didn't do it right? That they used the wrong technique. Oh, so torches here, you can see how those torches light up those, and those torches light up those, right? And in the absence of torches, you end up with something like this. This is like the daylight comes about this far, and then this is dark, and then this is super dark. So we're gonna have to torch there, if we can survive this lag, that is. Torch there, torch there, torch there, torch there, and torch there. And already that's much better. And then we have to replace those up there with the torches. And those torches, it won't light up this because it's casting a shadow on the top of the wall there. So we do need lights opposite both sides. So now we can see these as well. Okay, well the lag is still horrible. Let's pick up the end rods. Alright, that's the concept. Oh, the ends of the museums. I decided to put lights on those columns there. We probably should have lights around here as well, somewhere. Maybe like there. And there. We can wait until nighttime, but this should be enough to light up the space in here. As for the other end of this, right, those are no good. These are kind of no good as well. What did I decide? It was like there and there. There and there. Man, the item frame lag is absolutely insane. On this side, I think I put one there, 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 and that should light up all of this. You can recover those. Alright, we're getting towards nighttime. We can... Oh, that's meant to be down there. Getting towards nighttime, we can... We'll see how this performs at night. It's a shame that they didn't do the lights properly, to be honest. Because now our lighting options are just torches, basically. Also, lighting glitches. It's not perfect. But I think we can work with it. We can make it work, I think. Um, if I remember right, I'm not sure I remember right though. If I remember right, I think the people who worked on Minecraft RTX are actually NVIDIA people. And I'm not sure if they have a long-term cooperation with Mojang in Microsoft to keep the RTX updated, or if they're basically done and they're just not gonna touch it anymore. I hope they keep working on it.